Thank you for tuning in to the Cosmic Oracle Show. I'm your host, Barbara Jean Lindsey, and we're so excited to have you here this evening. I'll be coming to you live directly from Sierra Madre, California. It is Friday, August 3rd, 2018, and I'm just, it's a great summer day. I'm kind of a summer person. It's been extremely hot here, though. We've had like sun mornings and kind of making sun the bad guy, And I'm a quadruple Leo with the Pisces rising. So, the sun. And I kind of took a hint from my dogs today because both of them went out in the lawn and they just sat in the sun for just a few minutes. So I just kind of took my cue from them and just kind of walked out and stood in the sun for just a few minutes. And it just felt really good. And so I just gonna say sometimes the sun gets a bad rap. And so I have a really good connection with the sun and the great central sun from like Egypt the past days. So that's probably that Egyptian past life. So thank you for joining in today. Thank you for contributing to our Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. Just go to freedomslips.com. You'll find a donate button because everything comes to you by way of donation. No one gets paid for anything here. And so just give whatever you can, give generously. We have, I think, so far this month, $776, and we need $2,600. So each month we kind of squeak by. So go to freedomslips.com and hit that donate button and give as generously as you can. And we really do appreciate it. And thank you in advance. And this evening, what we have for you is the second part of the Sasquatch stories with my good friend, starting to be my good friend, Brian Bland. And Brian Bland, if you tuned in 2 weeks ago, he talked about all of his stories and his relationship with Sasquatch. And for me, I just seem to kind of keep getting kind of roped in, shall we say, or connections with the Sasquatch. And we had Kelly Lapousidis, I hope I say that right, and her husband Kiwani on the show several times. And when I lived in Felton, California, there is a Sasquatch museum there. And I happened to drive by and flipped a U-turn and ended up spending the whole afternoon with the owner there and talking about Sasquatch. And he had this really cool map that lit up he had pinpoints, push pins on it, where all the Sasquatch sightings were. So if you're into Sasquatch, you're in for a really big treat this evening. And if you're just new to Sasquatch we'll ask Brian's the Sasquatch man. He's part of the family, and he's shaking his head no. But we have him in this evening to talk more because he was very well received the first time, and we want to hear more of your stories, Brian. So welcome, and people can reach you by your Facebook page, Brian Bland. That's BLAND. And also, that would be the best way for them to connect with you or send you their Sasquatch stories or questions. So welcome to the show, Brian.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm feeling good. I spilled a whole bottle of kombucha, organic and raw gingerade right before the show, all over everything.
Well, so that's a good sign, yeah.
It's a good sign, isn't it?
Get all the crap out of the way right off the bat, eh?
Right. So I thought we would start with how was it for you on the show last time? Did you enjoy talking about stories, or did it stimulate anything in you, or what's happened in the last 2 weeks with you?
Actually, I had some people come down from Seattle. They have another, I guess it's blog talk radio show or something, or some kind of podcast, I guess it is, and interviewed me and whatever, and it was really fun. We became we're like fast friends now and whatever, and I think that they're going to get their own little thing going with Sasquatch too. We saw a few glyphs out there that that we came upon, some cool ones, and yeah, it was really good. And yeah, anytime I talk about them, I get energy, and I like it. So it's always good. Yeah, it's always good talking about them.
Well, one of the things that I liked, I felt yours was significant, was the way that you communicate with them. So you actually communicate with Sasquatch, probably through your heart and through your mind and through your beingness, but also through actual glyphs. And I thought that work kind of set you apart from some of the other Sasquatch information I've ever received. So.
Yeah, I think the key to it is you have to connect with them through your heart. There's a lot of people who go about investigating and researching them in the old school way and whatever, and because they don't have the heart connection or some kind of connection, they don't get the same kind of information or whatever. The Sasquatch want to share with people through the heart and through love and through a universal connection and that kind of thing. At least that's my experience.
Yeah, I went on the internet onto Amazon, and there's so many books on Sasquatch. I never knew how many, and a lot of them I didn't. And a lot of them were this a very scientific approach, where where you're looking for the Bigfoot, you're looking for proof that Bigfoot exists, and so maybe that would be. You want to jump off with that, or should we go back up and what is Sasquatch? Who is Sasquatch?
Well, they're the first people. They're I guess they're flesh and blood people, but they've got abilities that we all had at one point, but we've been, and I want you to talk about the pineal gland after I talk about this for a minute, because, we've had our pineal gland shut off, but we had all the abilities that the Sasquatch had of cloaking and mind speak and telepathy and all that kind of stuff. Now I talked to one of my mentors, a lady who's very connected into them, Arrrie Colette Williams, and she told me that they call themselves the Shamuna people. Oh. And there's ancient ones who are the teachers, okay? And they reincarnate into themselves again. They always come back as themselves. The regular Sasquatch do not. And like I said, they are the teachers. And yeah, and I mean, they've got an important mission to do as teachers.
But a Buddha way where so the information, the wisdom's always carried on, it's never lost. Yeah, and some people, some of us, and I mean, I'm sure probably myself or whatever, because I'm connected to them. That's one of the reasons that they connect to some of us, because we've actually, some of us were actually hybrids between Sasquatch and Star Nations people. Wow. I think that's significant. I think that's an important statement there. Can you say that again for our listeners? Because we could be genetically linked to them, or our DNA linked with them.
Well, I mean, that's why some of us feel like that they're a family or whatever. I mean, not only because of the amazing love they give us or whatever, like we can get into, but we feel a connection to them, and they, they call me family and whatever, because like I said, some people, not everybody, but some people are hybrids between Sasquatch and Star Nations people.
And some of the Star Nation lore talks about the Sasquatch people and being working with them and trading with them. Do you know much about that, the history of that?
Sorry, trading with them? You mean the Native Americans, you mean?
Yeah, yeah. Do you know anything about that, or history of that, or how they worked together, or did they just they respected each other's space, shall we say, and they were always a little bit separate, you know?
Well, I mean, a lot of the First Nations people and whatever, they had a lot of, just about all of them have legends of the Sasquatch. They call them a bunch of different names. Sasquatch name originated up here where I am from the Chehalis Indians, actually.
Huh.
And I'm trying to think of it. The original name was very similar to that, but it's kind of been, you know, it's changed to Sasquatch, but it was something very close to that. But, you know, they've all got different names for them, but they pretty well all have Sasquatch in their history or whatever, and in their you know, they're passing down through the generations, and a lot of them also have Star Nations history too, right?
Yeah.
Like I think I'm talking about maybe the Hopi and whatever comes to mind.
Yeah, I'm not as familiar with that at all, but it's easy if our listeners want to check it out and see what they can find on that. I'm sure it's in all of the histories there, because from what I know nothing with this.
You saw Colonel Schultz, right? I know nothing.
Yes, right.
Remember him?
That's right. That's right.
You probably remember him.
I do. Yeah, I do.
But he actually didn't know anything. You probably know more than him.
Oh, well, let's hope. I've been around for a while.
But anyway, as far as the connection goes, like I think it's a concerted behind-the-scenes effort, you know, to bring us up to speed and to raise our vibrations, because as we talked about last time, we're all one and all connected. So it's in the whole universe's interest to bring us children, because we're like children to them, you know, and raise our vibrations so that we can evolve. So yeah, I mean, they do work in conjunction with each other, for sure.
Okay. Yeah. And then that's by doing this work with us, then to raise our vibration, also helping our relationship, we talked about this last time, of our relationship with the planet, with the Mother Earth itself.
And with, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because as we talked about before, when I had that epiphany, or if that's the right word, when I got that love zap, as I called it, and from Raja Say in the bush, and like I said, I knew that I just, big download of information. I knew we were all one, we were all connected, and I also felt it. And I didn't only know it, I felt it. So it's, and when you're on that vibration, like I said before, you can't be like we are right now. You can't be like the human race is, for the most part. It's, you're non-judgmental. It's just, you're accepting of everything as one and you know, as whole. It's just, that's the goal, to get to there, right?
Yeah, so I think for me, when you're talking, I see these images of Sasquatch, the big, huge giant. It's kind of like a giant, would you say? Or what's, you know, the ones that you've seen or felt, are they like 8 foot, 10 foot, 12 foot, 15 foot, 7 foot?
Well, the only guy I've seen a juvenile like behind a tree. I thought he was a stump at first, and then we were looking at him, and then he took off. But he was like, you know, I mean, he might have been 7 or 8 feet tall, but he's like a young guy. But Arrrie, my clan leader, I've seen him. I got a picture of him. And that's an interesting story. Well, anyway, I'll tell you that in a second. But Arrie's about 11 to 12 feet tall, and he's just huge. I mean, I'm not a good guesstimator of height, of weight or whatever, but I think he's probably over 1,000 pounds. He might be like 1,200 pounds or something. He's like the biggest football defensive tackle you've ever seen. Like, it's kind of like in the book I'm writing, which I think I described him as Shaq would be his mini-me.
Oh my goodness.
You know, Shaq would be like a mini-me to this guy.
So is it kind of like the Wookiee, like on Star Wars, you know, that image? Is that not really?
Well, you know how there's so many descriptions of them that people have given. I mean, so, you know, the descriptions people are given are accurate from what I've seen. Although the ancient ones look far more human. They have human faces, much more human faces.
Do they have a bigger brow or like of a gorilla or that type then, or?
I hope I'm not getting this wrong, but I because I haven't seen a regular guy. I've seen Arrrie, but I think I believe the regular Sasquatch are a little more conical in the head, a little bit more, and the ancient ones are more of look more like a human head or whatever.
Okay. And so today we're going to talk about your experiences, and I'm excited about that because you've spent your whole life with them. And so how did you meet Arrrie? You talk with him like you're talking about a grandfather or an elder or a wise one. And I think we talked about it 2 weeks ago, but if you could briefly tell the story of how you got his name. Let's start with that, maybe.
Well, I do have to correct you on one thing. I think that I've lived, well, whatever, we can get into that later. Mm-hmm. You were gonna, I think I've been connected with them all my life, but I wasn't aware of it until 2012.
Okay.
Because I think, you know, there's different reasons why we are connected to them, including the hybrid thing that I told you about. Because mm-hmm. we're like kind of like their people, right? So, mm-hmm. but I wasn't aware of it until 2012. As far as knowing Arrie's name and some of the other names, I've had mind speak and thought impressions and all that stuff, so I have had that. But how I got the names was actually Arrrie Colette Williams and Thom Cantrall, who have been at it a lot longer than I have, told me the names. But the thing is, and those are probably their names, but it's not really that important what their names are, because as I said, when they communicate with me through the glyphs and whatever, like I associate A with Arrrie, mm-hmm. And H with Rajase, his daughter, and 4 with Forshna, and I don't know what little bud symbol is, probably there's a rascal though, I know that much. But the thing is that because that's what I think, mm-hmm. that's how they interact with me in their messages and their glyphs or whatever. They will present their glyphs with those symbols or whatever, so that, you know, so they customize them according to your understanding
and your ability of where you are. That's
yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's like, and like the glyphs have been like, well, you start off like in kindergarten or whatever. It really is like an education. It's like going through school, which I wasn't very good at, because I didn't apply myself. I just didn't. My head was in the cloud. I didn't care about it. But it. It's probably why I'm sitting here talking to you now. I'm just joking. But it's very much like school. They make it very simple and add on stuff and whatever. And as they add a symbol or something on, then they keep it, and then it mm-hmm. you just, you know, it's like a there. Yeah.
So the first glyph, then, if you a glyphs, what we talked before, where they use what do they use as a glyph? When you talk about a glyph, what is a glyph?
Well, it's a written message or whatever, and the ones that I like the best and I that really stand out. I mean, they can do them unpeeled, but the ones that I see a lot are peeled sticks, and they just put them together to form the symbols or whatever. They'll take the bark off the sticks, and they stand out really nice because they're kind of like white, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they look amazing.
And
you know, in contrast to you know, the green mossy forest floor or the path, they stand out quite nicely. Yeah.
So when you first started communing with them, so you're walking, let's say, down a trail, and you put an intention and your heart's open, and I really want to connect with you, Sasquatch. I'm here. I'm available, and then you kind of let go, and then you'll walk, and then so many yards later, then you see a glyph? Or do you think it was already planned, you know, like in the future, and you're just walking into it?
Well, they know exactly what we're going to do before we do it. Yeah. They're like, time does not exist for them, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you know about time, I'm sure. There's only actually the present. And that's actually when we want to raise our vibrations, we have to stay in the present, because if you worry about the past or the future, our vibration is lower. Now, that's maybe not connected, but as far as that, yeah, they already know what you know, it's like they have it set up before you even think about it or consider it.
Okay.
I'll give you an example of how this is about how they can read our thoughts. So one time I was looking at some structures. This is kind of an example of what you're talking about, and I knew they had made them, but there was one thing that was bothering me. Is the fact that there was some string in the structure. You know, like said, well, that's what humans do. And I just said, I know it's them. I know it's their area. I recognize it for what it is, you know, from familiarity. But the string is kind of throwing me off. But they're also opportunists. They'll use whatever is available, right?
Yeah.
So I've got this thought in my head. The string is string, and then within a few moments, I saw a T glyph, right, which is a very common symbol for them. Right?
Looks like the letter T.
Yeah.
T
Yeah. Like a stick and a vertical stick with a horizontal one on top. They're usually perfectly centered too. Sometimes they're even a little bit down the shaft of the vertical one. But anyway, this was a T glyph. But the vertical part was a string.
Oh.
And that was my answer, right? Like, yeah. You know, I'll get a thought and they will answer it right away. Like,
I like that.
Yeah.
You have to be mindful of your thoughts then, right?
I try to be. I don't want to get too much trouble with them. So far, I seem to be okay.
So you just go ahead.
But they absolutely are like a couple steps ahead of you, like, you know, and like they will place a thought in your head, like I said, and then they'll show you, right? Like that's how they answer a lot of my questions, either through energy, like an intensified loving energy, which is like a confirmation of a yes, or they'll show me in the physical with a glyph or whatever, right?
Have you ever seen them dispense any type of anger or violence or, you know, or fear or anything like that?
No.
Me that question. It wouldn't be my question. Someone asked me to ask that question. So.
But I think that, you know, that they're people. I mean, they are flesh and blood people that have abilities, like I said, that we used to have. So they are still people. So I imagine, you know, I mean, I can imagine that if they don't like you because you're disrespecting them or you're a danger to them or whatever, I mean, I'm sure that they could chase you off or they could be aggressive, but they've never been like that with me.
They've usually, could you tell some stories about how playful they are with you? I love those stories, or a story that you'd like to share with us about your relationship with them. Let's say maybe a beginning one and then a middle one and then where you are now. So like you're going to Sasquatch school, you know, like your very first and then your middle and then where you are today, because how many years have you been with them and this is your family?
Yeah. I told you about the rock throwing contest, but maybe I'll get into that again anyway, because that was so amazing. But I was writing some notes and trying to think of some of the stuff that I hadn't talked about because I don't want to be too competitive. But okay, I think, you know, I personally believe that they can shift change into animals and they can see you through their eyes. And I've had quite a few examples where it certainly looks that way.
Like into a dog or a deer or?
Deer for sure, because I've had experience with that with my friend Thom and my girlfriend Sue with a deer.
Can you tell that story?
Let me tell the bird one first.
Okay.
It's a little neater. Well, I wouldn't say neater, but it's a little more involved. There's more, it's, how do I say, there's more elements to it as to what they do and their abilities or whatever.
Okay.
That I, because it's a little more detail.
Okay.
Then I'll talk about the deer. I had a gifting stump.
Now, what is that? What is a gifting tree? So people know.
Well, it's just a gifting area where you leave them food or gifts or something, offering, And I was doing that a lot early on. So I just called it a gifting tree.
What do they like for gifts?
Well, I left them apples and basically mostly food, but I left them some toys and stuff too.
Okay.
But anyway, and the reason I call it a gifting tree is simply because I used to tie a bag to the tree and put like apples and stuff in it. So it's basically a gifting area. It doesn't, it's just a gifting place, but I call it my gifting stump or tree. So at the base of the tree, I had like a series of 3 different things, 3 of each. I had 3 little tennis balls, but the little cat ones, the little tiny ones. Have you seen those?
Yeah.
They're like a tennis ball, but they're like super small.
Mm-hmm.
So I put 3 of them, line them up vertically, up and down. Beside that, I had some white glass stones or whatever, like white glass kind of stones, and I put them vertically beside the cat balls. Cat balls. The cat tennis balls. Oh my God, I'm going to get in trouble here. And then I had 3 seashells that I lined up in the same beside. So I had like 3 rows of the cat tennis balls, the glass stones, and the seashells, right? Now, as odd as it sounds, normally I just kind of remember it or whatever. I don't normally, sometimes I do, but quite often I won't even take a picture of it because I just come back and I know what's changed or whatever. So, it's, I should probably be a little more thorough. But this time I thought, or they put the thought in my head, so to speak, is what I believe. I'm going to take a picture of it to see if anything changes, okay? So I took the picture of it, had it on my camera or whatever, and then I see a blue jay fly in and land right at my face level, only about 6 feet away from me. And it's just behind, so I turned around and walked over to where the blue jay was. I turned my back on the arrangement of by the stump of my gifts, and walked around, and I walked up to the bird, and I was really close to him, and he just stood there or sat there on his little perch. And I took about 4 or 5 pictures of him. Blue jays are pretty friendly birds, I suppose, but some of the behaviors of these birds that I suspect they've shape-shifted into they're a little bit too friendly or whatever. They're just like, they're not scared of you or whatever. But anyway, he just stood there and posed for me for 4 or 5 pictures, and I was looking at him and taking his pictures, and then off he flew. And when I turned around, I noticed something was different, right? Mm-hmm. One of the seashells had been moved, had been picked up, had to have been picked up, and it was placed about 3 feet over to the left on a root that's like grown out of the ground. So it had been picked up and placed over there, within the 30, 40 seconds, whatever, when I was snapping pictures of the bird. So of course I checked my camera, just in case, and it was like I had thought I had placed it. They were all in the sequence. So I suspected that bird was a diversion, probably a Sasquatch doing it. And then, while I had my back turned to the gifting tree, somebody snuck up or was invisible or cloaked or whatever, and they moved the shell on me, and that was I just laughed. I thought that was really funny, but they were just showing me their abilities and what they could do, and maybe just a kid playing around, because I know that when they do funny stuff like that, I just know that they're watching and giggling and they're just enjoying it. Like, I wonder what he's going to do or what he's going to notice or whatever.
Yeah, well, they don't have the internet or, to keep you busy or.
No, they have real fun.
They have real fun. That's right.
Legitimate fun, yeah.
Yeah. And I remember what you said last time too, I found fascinating, was that they have an artistic eye to them when they put a placement for a glyph or like playing with you with the shell, that it's a very preconceived, like an artistic gesture or artistic communication to you.
They're absolutely, some of them are so creative. I think my favorite is probably Raj to say, the daughter. She's got a very artistic touch. She just puts like little leaves on it and ferns, and she's just got some beautiful glyphs. I usually recognize hers just because of the artistic nature of them. But, some of them I've seen like vines woven over, under, like the forms, A's and H's and whatever. I mean, some of them are so intricate and just so beautiful. Yeah, they're very artistic.
Wow. Well, that's beautiful. That sounds great to be able to experience, because it's an experience. It seems like when you don't just see it, you feel it and you know it at the same time when you observe it. So it's kind of multidimensional in a way when you go to observe it. It's not like, because you're feeling something and seeing something and interacting with it as well, with that inaccurate.
And if they're for me personally, like a lot of them are not for me. So I don't really, I've seen a lot of them over and over repeatedly, but I don't really know the exact meaning of them. But if they're for me, it's usually the meaning is instantaneous. Like some of the best ones I've seen are just like immediately I know. And sometimes I've been brought to tears because the message is just so beautiful. It's just personal and beautiful, right? So.
Yeah, and it's not in words, or do they give you the words with it, or do you just get your question answered?
No, it's just in my head. I know instantly. It's not like I hear them saying it. It's just like maybe like a thought placement or an energy, because there's energy connected with them. So I just know what it means immediately.
That's cool.
And as far as, they can also, when they can move them around. Like I've had them move them around right when I'm standing there. I look away for a second and then it's been moved. Or, yeah. Did I tell you that one?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. You might have, but.
Might have, but but Thom Cantrall and I were talking at an event called Beachfoot. I think it was probably 2013. We were talking about glyphs, and this fella, after the fact, the next morning, actually, he came up to me all excited. He said, "I think I've seen one or whatever." And I had seen them the day before. They were doing them there. So anyway, I went off to the trail with them, and then there were some really neat ones. And in any event, I think I took a series of 3 people up and down the trail that day. And every time we went up, I think Sue was with me, and Arrrie was with me, my friend, and some other people. Every time we went up, they either added some or took something away or changed it. So they were just playing the whole time with the glyphs, eh?
Huh.
Yeah, and that's not unusual, because they do that when I hike too. Like there'll be something there that wasn't there previous, or something has changed or something like that. They're always constantly having fun. And sometimes, like I said, I think they're just like, I wonder what he's going to do or notice or whatever. And they're just giggling or whatever. Yeah, I just feel their glee, like they're watching and they're laughing or whatever kind of thing, right? But that said, they also put the thought in your head, so you're gonna look at it anyway, because it's like, you know what I mean? They got all the bases covered.
And have you ever, okay, this is like, have you ever made a glyph for them as a gift back? Or is that just, not necessary?
Oh, yeah. I made all kinds of glyphs.
Okay, because that's what I would do. If someone gave me a glyph, I'd want to give them a glyph back. So.
Like my understanding of the X is friendship welcome. So I will sometimes leave an X, friendship welcome, for them. And also I designed my own glyph. I think we talked about that last time. And they started messing around with that, changing it around and making their own version of it. And like I said, they incorporated it into some of their messages and glyphs that they left for me. And some of them had like 3 or 4 signatures of them and my signature in there. And, and one I found that we did discuss for sure, I think last time, was very personal. And that just brought me to tears immediately, because it meant we're family, we're connected, we're watching out for you, we love you. I was overcome with emotion. Mm. But they took that one off of my Facebook and Thom's hard drive and also my actual camera, because that's the only time they've done that. And the lesson there was that one was just for me. It was,
mm-hmm.
But I won't go into too much detail on it because we talked about that, right. I think, last time. Yeah.
So what would be another, so you want to talk about the deer story? Is there a deer story, or is there something else you'd like to go with?
Well, the deer, Sue and Thom saw it the year before, and it was just hanging around the camp the whole time. It was just acting suspicious. And then the next year we went up to the same spot. And this is in a place where, there's really remote. There's not a lot of people. So I don't think the deer was like used to people. So it wouldn't really be on the tame side or whatever, I guess I could say. Mm-hmm. But the next year when I went up with them, the 3 of us were there, and I was in the tent. I had kind of a headache or something. I wasn't feeling that good. And the deer was just like 20, 30 yards away from me, but it was looking right at me in the tent. Like I could see it like in the direct line of outside the tent. It was just acting peculiar. Huh. So, but there's actually even another one I really like is Sue and I were doing a smudging thing up in the woods, up in my area. And she was faced this way, and I know I'm talking, but I guess this will be a video at one point. Anyways, we're facing each other. Her back is to what I saw. She didn't see it, but we're doing a smudging ceremony, for negative energy and stuff and all that. And I saw this, and these trees are fairly close together. It's not like you wouldn't expect this, I wouldn't think, but a big, huge bird flew into the forest, like through the canopy or whatever you call it. Is that what you call it? In through the trees, anyway. And at first I thought it was like a pterodactyl. It was so big. I thought, what in the heck is that? And it kind of perched looking at us just like the blue jay had. And it's looking at us the whole time we're doing the ceremony. I said, Sue, get the camera. But Sue wouldn't get the camera. She's a stickler for tradition or whatever. Because she didn't understand the magnitude of it. Mm-hmm. She just thought it was a regular bird. So she wouldn't get me the camera until we were done the thing. But the bird was watching us the whole time we were doing it. And as soon as we were done and she got me the camera, well, actually, she turned around and looked, and she was looking for a little bird, so she didn't see it right away. And then when she did see it, it was like, oh, my God.
Yeah, get the camera.
Okay. Yeah, and then she did get the camera, but as soon as she got the camera, it flew off. And it was so big that it had to fold its wings into its body and kind of maneuver out, But I think it was a golden eagle, now that I think about it.
When I see it, it feels like an eagle. I'm not sure. I wasn't saying.
Yeah, it looked, I swear it looked about 3 or 4 feet tall. It was huge.
Wow.
But I think it was a golden eagle.
Beautiful.
But, they put their wings in close to their body, so they were only like half the width or something. I guess they're in tight quarters or something, I guess. But anyway, that was another one that I know was a spiritual kind of occurrence. And I'm sure that was one of them cloaked or whatever. I mean, not cloaked, I'm sorry, shape-shifting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen one like kind of like some of the movies I've seen on YouTube or some of the video is where you can kind of see them as more interdimensional, where they are there and then they're not there. They're like there and then they're not there. Have you ever felt like they're there and then you look and they're like gone, or felt that energetic, you know, I know you're there, I can feel you there? And,
oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I can tell you a couple stories on that. Actually, that's a good thing you brought up.
Okay.
You know, when you're in the woods sometimes, it's just like, what was that?
Yeah.
You know, like I never really,
Girl.
like, what was that? Like, there's something, you don't necessarily hear anything or even feel, it's just like, oh.
You're
and, you know, I mean,
guest there,
yeah,
right? You're a guest first.
Yeah, and I know that they can be right around us, cloaked and invisible, because my friend, they've been around us, and he's heard them. My hearing is not that great, but he's actually heard them breathing when they're invisible right around us. He can hear them breathing, like he can hear them. And quite often when they throw the rocks and they're so accurate, like in one instance, they threw a rock like right directly between us. It landed right on the ground, right between us. I mean, they've done that a lot. But sometimes I think their accuracy is because they're right there beside you and they're just tossing it, you know, like. Now another time, there's a few good things I can talk about on this. As I said, they connect people. So there was this young fellow that came and saw myself talking at a conference, and actually Thom and Arrrie were there too, and they were visiting. So we decided we'd put on a little talk at one of the local motels just for the evening, right? And it was great. And like I said, they connect people. So this fella, he was into different kinds of things like conspiracies and aliens and stuff like that, but he had just started getting interested in Sasquatch. Not by coincidence, mind you, because I don't believe in coincidence. So he saw an advertisement in the paper about this little mini conference. It was just a one-day thing. And he sent me, I think he sent me a Facebook request, and we talked a little bit. So anyway, he came to the conference, and then I started taking him out and whatever, right? And he started having his own experiences right away. He even got mind speak within a few days or whatever, and he was getting the energy. And I actually had like one time we went to one of my favorite places, and it was incredible. They were giving me such a download of, they were just thanking me for bringing him or whatever, and the energy was just incredible. I mean, so they were just so happy about it, right?
And he could feel your wisdom. Your student or your friend can connect with all of your wisdom. See, so that's why I was able to have that kind of an experience so much quicker.
I don't know if I don't want to put myself on a pedestal. I don't think I have a lot of wisdom. I think it's
experience then. Okay. But
well, they initiate it all. They set you up.
Yeah.
They bring people together, and then they take over from there.
Yeah.
Then they'll work with that person.
Okay.
But anyway, so
I was getting
this. Oh, okay. So yeah, there's two really neat things I can talk to you about on this. So anyway, one time we were going to a little bit different area. There's a guy called Big Red that we called him. I don't know his name, but he's just huge because my friend saw him right the time previous. And so we took this other fella in there, and I like to be very, very respectful to them. So I said, Randy Brisson and I, we decided, that's my mentor, First Nations friend, incredible guy, lovely guy, just love him to death. And we said, you stay back 100 yards or so. We're going to walk up here where he saw him before, where we felt the energy, whatever, and we're going to introduce you. Right? Mm-hmm. So I went up there, and I'm pretty good with my words or whatever, more than Randy. So, so I said, hey, we want to introduce you to this fella, and you know, as respect, like if you went to somebody's place or whatever, you would say, hi, this is Johnny, and like to introduce you to them, and
they're home.
Yeah. So I showed them the respect. We showed them the respect to leave him back and then introduce him to them. And then he came forward. But as I was introducing them to him, I was getting like this incredible energy, like all through my hands and body, whatever. Like I was almost like, it was just like buzzing like crazy. It was incredible. And actually, he went out a couple of weeks after that, and he went and stayed in this place, and went to another place that I recommended he go to, because Randy and I had been there, and it was kind of remote, and it was just a place I figured that he should be camping in. And they were interacting with him all night. They were talking outside his tent, and he was like really scared at first, but they gave him a calming energy. They calmed him down. They gave him an energy that made him feel more comfortable, right? Which I felt too, which they can do, right? So you see, they connect people, and then they work with them, and then they start. So, you know, they've been working with him in that way. And that's great. And then the other thing is at the same place where Big Red was, my mentor and I, Randy, we were there, and we could hear them all around us, but we also, we can feel their energy. I mean, it's not like you say, oh, I got a feeling that it's very, very concrete. When you feel their energy, it is very obvious. And we could feel their energy all around us, and we were also getting some smells.
I was just going to ask, that was my next.
Yeah. We were also getting some smell. I mean, they were very, very close to us.
Is it musky? What's this? The smell, or?
It varies, I think, according to the individual. Some of the females smell very, very nice. Like Roger Say has a floral perfume kind of smell. It's really pleasant. But anyway, we felt their energy all around us, and we knew we knew the whole clan, or a bunch of them, were right around us. Then all of a sudden, this one guy went right inside of me, and I think Randy too, because I said, "Did you feel that?" And he said, "Yeah." Like, went right inside of us, and
did they pass through? They just
I don't know. I just knew he was inside of me, and it felt like a light switch went on. It was like a light switch sensation. I don't know what that was, but I guess checking his out, or really looking at us deeply, or whatever, or something. But it felt, that's the only way I can describe it, like when he got inside of me, it felt like a light switch had turned on. So yeah, they are interdimensional, at least as far as, well, I don't know if cloaking and going and visit, is that interdimensional? Is that the definition of it?
And I would say yes, but I don't know the exact definitive.
Yeah, but like I did say, to reiterate, I mean, that would mean that we were interdimensional at one time too, because like I said, they're flesh and blood beings, people, and we had all the abilities that they had at one point. So.
And we have that ability to be interdimensional now. It takes some practice and some study, but and getting to know yourself. Oh, go ahead. I
wanted to tell you. Okay, remind me about the story of an Australian guy. But first of all, I want to get into something else. But don't let me forget that, because that collaborates what I'm talking about now, about our abilities.
Okay. We have about, I think, 4 minutes before break.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, maybe I'll get, okay, as far as, we'll talk about zapping. Remind me to talk about zapping and whatever too then. I'll talk about this then right now.
Okay.
So this Australian guy, and you're actually going to meet him at the conference.
Oh, I'm excited. I've been, it's funny that you talk about that, because this morning, right before I got up, right before you're in between the worlds, right before you step into the body and your thing for the day, right as I'm coming up, I saw a map, and on the map was Australia. It's Australia, and it was just loud and clear. It shows me the picture of the Earth, and it's turning, and then it's like when you're a kid and you go around with the globe and you spin it. It was that, and it stopped, and it just really wanted my attention, and it was Australia. So.
Okay, but this talks about us having those abilities that they have at one point. And then after the break, I want you to talk about the pineal gland that we were talking about, right?
Well, yeah.
How it was shut off and whatever. But anyway, so my sister and I had not talked for about 7 years at that point. And I know all one, all connected. I'm supposed to be my vibration raised. I'm supposed to, but you know, like it's hard staying there all the time, right? And this was even before I got connected with the Sasquatch consciously. This happened, but anyway, her husband and I. He's not my favorite person in the world. I really don't like him.
Well, you just told the world, so if he didn't know now, he does now. No.
Oh no, she knows.
Okay.
She knows. I mean, there's no big secret. They won't be watching this anyway. I don't think. Okay. He's. I'm not going to get into why. I'm not going to criticize him. But anyway, he's just not my favorite person. And I told her he's an a-hole, right? So she didn't talk. We hadn't talked for about 7 years. Can I say a-hole? I guess. Yeah. Can I say it twice?
He's a double a-hole. Let's just make it clear, okay?
Okay. Yeah, really crystal clear. So her and I had not talked for about 7 years. Wow. Not a word. And all of a sudden, this Australian guy that, you know, was a really good friend of mine, and actually after the conference, he's going to come up here and do some camping with me, and we're going to go out in our woods, my woods and whatever. And it's just, I'm just so looking forward to that whole week, meeting you and all the people, and the after that, it's just amazing. So
does he
all of a sudden, all of us, what?
Does he have a name? Your Australian dude?
Well, I don't know. I don't have permission to say it, so I'm not sure if he wants me to say it.
Okay, got it.
You know, I don't really want to say people's names if I haven't asked them if I can mention their name.
Okay,
that's why I didn't mention my young friend's name either. I think he wants to be a little private.
Yes, that makes sense.
But I'll introduce you to him when you meet him.
Okay.
So anyway, do I still have time to finish this?
Yes, you do.
Okay, so I'm looking on Facebook one day, and you know, in my chat box, he leaves me about a 2 or 3 paragraph thing about my sister is worried about your parents. Don't worry, they're not dying right now or whatever. My mother has passed since, but and he went into a bunch of detail about why she was worried about them, and just a bunch of really detailed stuff, right? About how she's worried about them, and I can't remember all the specifics, but it was extremely detailed, okay? Get that? Okay, so the very next day, she phoned me and said, word for word, basically what that guy said.
Oh.
That she was very concerned about them, and in exactly the manner that he had described. So, you know, so like I said, we've got those abilities too. Yeah, I mean, it would not have happened. I mean, he knew it. You know, 6 or 7 years not talking to somebody, and then they phone you the next day and say the exact same thing. It's that was amazing.
Psychically aware. And so when we get back, we'll talk about Sasquatch being on the whole planet, the entire planet. It's a world Sasquatch, right? Talk about that. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll be right back. Thanks for listening to Cosmic Work.
Listen to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. We'll be right back after this message. In breaking news, a visiting Syrian diplomat reported today that their population is evolving rapidly and advancing into a 5th dimensional consciousness. They are seeking peace with all cosmic cultures, which may mean that the Earth will be asked to join the prestigious Galactic Federation of Light Alliances. Please join Debbie West and Michael Hathaway on Lost Knowledge, Saturdays, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in Studio A, for the latest breaking news on the Star Visitor's peaceful contact and the ongoing project of cleansing the Earth.
Who are you? I am the architect. I created the Matrix. I've been waiting for you. Why am I here? You are the eventuality of an anomaly which, despite my sincerest efforts, I have been unable to eliminate from what is otherwise a harmony of mathematical precision, which has led you inexorably here. You haven't answered my question. The Matrix is older than you know. As you are undoubtedly gathering, the anomaly is systemic, creating fluctuations in even the most simplistic equation. Choice. The problem is choice.
Right here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. Be here Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for Private Eye Matrix Revealed with Monique Lassad.
Hello, my name is Mr. Rowe. I am the host of Reality Extraction on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I utilize logic, intellect, and magic to methodically atomize, vivisect, analyze, examine, study, scrutinize, and extract an essence of reality from a fog of illusion and confusion. You can find me on Studio B every Thursday, 1700 hours Pacific Time. That's 8 p.m. Eastern. No topic taboo, no subject too strange. I strive to take a neutral standpoint during the dissection of the topic at hand. That's Reality Extraction with Mr. Rowe on Revolution Radio.
This is Thomas, a.k.a. a Mad Painter. I'd like you to join me Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Open Canvas. Don't forget to bring an open mind.
Yes, folks, that's right. Bring an open mind to an open canvas. Again, that is Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern. UFOs, government corruption. This is Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Thanks for tuning in to Revolution Radio. Here at Revolution Radio, we are listener-sponsored and commercial-free, but there still are bills to pay. In order to raise some needed funds to cover the cost, our station is offering a silver special. In the continental United States for a $60 donation, or in Alaska, Hawaii, or Canada for a $70 donation, we will send you an uncirculated 2018 1-ounce pure silver eagle. The $70 donation, the extra 10 is to cover shipping, by the way, outside the continental United States. When making the donation, you must put Silver Eagle promo in the notes and the donation. And thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at revolution.radio and freedomslips.com. Without you, there is no us. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Hello, this is Maggie Rose McGrath of The Concord Show.
And co-host Marine Corps Matt, coming to you on Monday and Tuesdays in Studio A, noon to 2 Eastern.
At Studio B on Wednesday nights, 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern, with educational, instructional, information, and situational updates, often with wonderful guests on the current landscape in the U.S. and overseas.
This is a go.
We are with you side to side and back to back.
Please join us on Monday through Wednesdays.
As well as other hosts and guests here on Revolution Radio.
We're not gonna take it anymore. That's right, we're not gonna take it anymore. We said we're not gonna take it anymore. That's right, we're not gonna take it anymore.
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and FreedomSlips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, FreedomSlips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
This is your host, Barbara Jean Lindsey. Welcome back to the Cosmic Oracle Show. Thanks for tuning in, and we have our guest, Brian Bland, and he is discussing all things Sasquatch and his relationship and experiences with this amazing, beautiful clan Sasquatch. And before I get back, I would like to thank you for your generosity in keeping Revolution Radio on the air. And since we are all donations, that's the only way that we get on the air is through your donations. Please continue to give generously. Go to freedomslips.com and press that donate button and give whatever you can, $5, $10, whatever you can, and keep us on the air. And we really, truly appreciate it. We won't be here without your generosity. And also would like to just give a shout out for next week's show. I'm going to have Ray Hernandez will be our guest, and he is an amazing man himself. He's head of the free organization, the Dr. Edgar Mitchell Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial and Extraordinary Encounters. They have a new book out. It's called Beyond UFOs, The Science of Consciousness and Connect with Non-Human Intelligence. So he's going to be talking all about his new book. I know he's been working on it profusely, and very excited to have him on the show next week. And so we'll get back here to Brian. Welcome back, Brian. Thanks for hanging in there. And are you going to be speaking at the Psychic Sasquatch Spiritual Retreat and Conference coming up in August?
No.
Oh, I thought you were. Okay. Well, maybe I'm looking at the future then, right?
maybe one day. So yeah. Did you want me to? I'm pretty happy because I haven't crossed off too many of my notes.
Oh yeah, let's go. Let's go.
But you were saying about them appearing out of thin air or whatever. Did I tell you that one?
No, let's go for it. I'm excited. I don't want to hear me, and we want to hear you.
Well, I did want to ask you a few things, though.
Okay.
But anyway, I was coming back from a hike, or an overnighter with the young fella that took under my wing or whatever. Blessed to have had them connect us. I'm not taking any of the credit. I was just the vessel of connection with him and whatever. And like I said, he's growing with a relationship with him too. But we were coming back along a trail. And I guess this is the second time that I saw one. I saw Arrrie first. We got into that last episode, I was going to say. last time we talked.
Time. This might be a continuing thing. Who knows?
Episode. But anyway, so we're walking along the trail, and I'm looking straight ahead, and all of a sudden, the trail was maybe 8 feet wide. And there was nothing there because I'm looking straight ahead. All of a sudden, in the last couple feet, a Sasquatch fully materialized out of thin air right before my eyes. And I saw the back of his head. I saw his massive shoulders. I saw the muscles in his back and his legs. And he walked up behind a tree and up the slope, right? And I said to my friend, "Did you see that Sasquatch?" I was pretty excited. It's not every day you see one materialize right in front of your eyes.
That's huge. That's like huge.
Yeah. Wow. So I was like, but he saw a little dog. I think we did just, he saw a little dog because he was not ready to see a Sasquatch at that time, right?
Right.
But there was no little dog there because we got up to where it walked off the trail like really quickly. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of sparse. The trees and whatever were sparse in that area. We would have definitely seen a dog. Plus, there was nobody really else around. So they can show themselves to you in whatever form they want.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you feel like you've been acclimated along the years to be able to actually now come to the point where you can actually see them just for a second.
Well, Randy was seeing them all the time when I was with him, and I was, darn it, like for about the first 3 years, I didn't see them at all. Then, I've seen them three or four times since then. Yeah.
So because
it took me about 3 years before they allowed me to see them. Right. Yeah. So.
That's a great story. That's an amazing story.
So what about the pineal gland?
Okay. Well, I've been a psychic for like 30 years, and the pineal gland, it sits, where it sits, right? It's like your third eye. It's funny, I have some oil on it right now because I do that sometimes. If you start having headaches, you can just actually put your finger on the pineal gland and just rub it really gently, and it'll open it up for you yourself. Instead of having a master teacher do that for you, you can actually open it up yourself and relax it. But when you go into it, it's another way of seeing. It's an alternative space to see and to gather information and to hear. And for me, it's when you open it up, it's just opening up another avenue of communication. And so the third eye, and it's fast. It's kind of like you're talking, like when you call it the speaks, what did you call it? I'm starting to get to know
Mind speak?
Mind speak. It's kind of like mind speak. So it goes right here in the third eye, also connected with the heart, but also connected with the higher planes. And then it's kind of connected for me all the way around in a 360, as above, so below at the same time. So it's kind of like where it's kind of, for me, when I open the pineal gland and look at someone psychically or getting a psychic hit, I can feel it come in like light, and it swirls around in like a spiral, almost like a spiral in a way. And then you get information that way. So
the reason, sorry, go ahead.
Well, and we talked about this before the show, is that working with the Sasquatch, they're very telepathic and speaking on a telepathic language through the third chakra is how you usually see it. But for me personally, after doing it for so long, you see it's a combination of things. It's not just the third eye. You have to be centered, number one, know who you are. This sometimes takes some time. You're not going to get it by 5 o'clock today, okay? So, but maybe, but maybe.
Well, I hope not, because it's 6:10.
Yeah. Well, 5 o'clock somewhere, in the world. But so, so it takes a little time and a little practice. And so I stopped counting after 10,000 healings and readings. So,
but the reason I asked you that is because when I sense them around or whatever, especially early on, there's different ways now. I kind of feel their energy all through my body now, like a loving, warm, loving blanket. It's a little different. But when I first started knowing that they were around and they were going to do something or something was going to happen, I felt them in my third eye.
Okay.
And actually Sue, she's very gifted with energy, whatever. She cannot put her hand anywhere close to my third eye. It's just like, it starts tingling so bad. It's just like, I can't take it.
So that's where you connect with them now.
Well, that's where I did initially, and I guess sometimes still or whatever. But you were saying, or I was saying that some of us were connected to them as family, and that we're their people because we were a hybrid between Star Nations and the Sasquatch. And I had a lady tell me in a light language session, actually I can say Shakira Toshka, and I recommend her to anybody. She's amazing. She told me that I had lived at least 2 past lives as a Sasquatch, and I was wondering if you could get into that.
I can. Is that Shakira who's in Sedona? Lives in Sedona, or is this someone else?
Shakira Toshka. I think she is, yes.
Yeah.
She's going to meet her too. There's going to be so many amazing people at that conference.
I know her.
It's going to be, yeah. Okay. Well, she told me that I had lived at least 2 lives as a Sasquatch person. So
Well,
maybe some insight. Could you tell me a bit about that? Because you do that stuff, right?
I do it all the time. It's what I do. I left the real world, shall we say, or the other world, to be able to do this kind of work for everyone. And that's what I do. I've been doing it for a long time. So with spirits, we'll ask a gift from spirit right now, and we'll go into and see a past life for you with the Sasquatch clan. And I have your permission to look, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Hope you find some. I'm just joking.
The first one I see is kind of a golden yellow color. So I'd like to look at that one first. And so it just shows me you walking by a stream. And you're really small. And the bank is really grassy. And it's interesting because your fur on the body is more green than brown. So when you're laying on the grass, you're having fun with your sisters and brothers, because as you're laying on the grass, it's like the fur of the mother, the fur of the earth, and you are connected, but it's more green than brown. And so you have the ability, like you're showing me of kids playing, that you could change your color from brown to green. And they're, yeah, and you're laughing, and you're kind of like saying, now brown, and everyone goes to brown, and then now green, and everyone goes to green.
Wow.
But it's, again, you're laughing out loud, but the circle is telepathic. And there's like 5 of you, maybe 6 of you. There's 6 is the little small one. He's a little more shy, and he's in the background. But you're having the best time. You're just laughing and carrying on right next to the river and the running water. And we're looking at this now because for you, it's the water is the way, the river water, the way it flows is a way that you can expand between the worlds.
Mm-hmm.
And
I've heard that. I've heard that. That's true. I've heard that more than once.
I've never told anyone that before. All right.
Well, you're telling it by you saying that, it really verifying things.
And
yeah.
I'm getting like little goosebumps now. Okay, so someone's talking here. Okay, or something's coming through. So, do you have a question with that, or we could? There's several. We could go on if you'd like.
Oh, you have to live several lives.
Yeah. So let's see the. Or if they're vignettes, it's just what's coming up. This is more of a blue one. I'd like to go into this one.
Okay.
This one is more of a shapeshifter, where you're more of a coyote form. And you're on a huge rock. Again, it looks like a Northern America. And you're way up high, and you can see the river below you. And you like to sit up here, and you're like king of the mountain there. You're like, it's your majestic palace, and you're just so happy, and there's a full moon out, and you're yowling with the moon. You're just like, oh, like that with the moon, and it's like letting everybody know that it's safe to come out. Isn't that interesting? That, that you're the messenger, and it's safe to come out, and that that you hold that doorway, and there's a connection. Because on the other side is another being that's there. It's kind of more like a Sasquatch being that's across the other side of the river that is saying hello, and you get it. You have a connection back and forth. Then I also see to the other left is a First Nations tribe, and then to the right is a spaceship tribe. It's a more of a for a spaceship, it's I don't know if the spaceship's the best word, but it's more of a like a doorway or a portal or a transformational place, like a Stargate or something like that. I'm not to the cosmos. Duh. Sorry, I had to go through all my filters. And so this is the cosmos and your connection with the earth and the cosmos. And it's a full circle, and it's where and how you would communicate. And it's through a telepathic, energetic, heart connection, depending on what body type you have, whatever your avatar is. It like the native, the native, and then the Sasquatch, and then the cosmic connection as well, and where you've been. I'm just being told that where you've been a part of all of that, and in this lifetime, you're to bring it all together. Okay, and I do see a next life. If you want to go into it, maybe it's too personal, or
no, that's fine.
And it's showing me you with a staff, and in the staff is a eagle feather, and some other kind of feathers, maybe a hawk feather, and I don't know what else is there. Maybe a crow feather, and then there's like something with a turtle wrap, and you're walking like a vision quest, you're on a vision. And like 40 days and 40 nights, it's all I need is 40 days and 40 nights. But you're focused and you're in it and you're on it. And it doesn't seem so much like this lifetime as a past lifetime. And where you're going in and you're actually sitting with the clan. And again, at that time, you were a messenger to keep them safe. At that time, they had more communication. So it's more like it's almost the setting is a wild, wild west sort of a time, where you had the buckskins and the whole thing on, and you were human then, but where you could go and sit with them and then commune with them and then take that knowledge back out to the people. So you've been doing this for many lifetimes.
Wow.
That's why it feels comfortable to you, and they feel comfortable. You feel comfortable with them as well. So you know what it is to sit in their skin. When you said he came into your skin, you know what it's like to sit in their skin.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you.
And then I can do one more, or we can stop here, whatever.
No, go ahead.
I'm going to ask Spirit for the next gift. And so this one is where you're like your job in the clan and is to work with the geodes, with the crystals, the different rocks in the earth, where you take their treasure and you work with them, and then you put them back. It's like you're finding them, and you are a Sasquatch being here, but you're taking the earth inside her treasures, her minerals, and by finding them and working with them, you're able to duplicate them. I don't know what this is. And then put them back in to heal the planet. And I'm not sure what that is. That might be almost like a future you in a way. Isn't that interesting? But that's my hit on that. So, and then I'll just come out now because I know people want to really hear your stories, unless you have a question.
Well, no, but that was fascinating too, right? I didn't just want to do that for me. I think it adds to the story of the connection that they have to certain people. That kind of just enhances it, right? Mm-hmm. That's why I wanted to ask that. It wasn't about me really, but I wanted to ask you one more thing.
Sure.
The last time we talked, and I mean, obviously, my people really liked it. You said you saw them dancing around in a circle.
I did.
How did you feel? What was that like? What was that like?
I loved it. I love to dance. Dancing is the best medicine.
But you saw the Sasquatch people dancing around in a circle, right?
I did. And it's a way of celebration, of a communion, of, well, sometimes we humans really need to get simple and dance.
Yeah.
We just made it so complicated, and it's not. That's the message, with them. It's like the joy of dancing, and where it I know there's scientific proof now that dancing stops aging.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to start dancing.
Yeah, me too. I'll need to dance more. But it was, and dancing also lifts the energy. It lifts the vibration. It increases the burdens. But I just see them doing that. So.
So let me, unless you have a question.
No, I don't. So let's head back to your amazing stories and your life living, part-time or a good part of your time. How much time do you spend with them on the average, do you think?
They're with me, they're always with me at home and whatever. Sometimes I feel them more energetically at home than I even do in the woods. Like when I'm in the woods, sometimes it's just like, okay, he's here, so we're happy, but I really, sometimes I feel the really intense love and everything at home, even more than in the, not always, but it's not unusual.
Yeah.
So I'm always, most of my time when I'm off, if I can get into the woods, I'll get in there for a period of time, even if it's just for a short hike or whatever. Like I was in there today before I came on with talking to you. So, like I said, I think certain soul family groups and whatever come back and have work to do. Mm-hmm. That's another thing that I found out through this. And Sue and I have a very, very strong connection, probably a twin flame connection, if I could say that. And
I can see that from here. I from the very moment I saw you and you said it sparks.
I mean, we were talking on the, I'll just go briefly into this. We were talking on the internet when we were starting to finish each other's sentences and stuff and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden we got this zap, for what we call it, from the universe, where it was just like, oh my God. And it was just like, it was primal. It was like, I would have ripped her apart literally with passion. If I had been with her there, I was ready to quit my job and walk 300 miles to Oregon. Right there. It was just so intense.
Wow.
And the Sasquatch people themselves have told me, through Mind Speak and through Thought Impression and whatever, that they want us to work together to do stuff together, right? For them, we're on a mission or whatever. So, so I'll tell you a really beautiful story about when we were camping, her and I. And it's also got the element of the education or whatever, because something happened the year before, so that when I seen what happened on this particular trip, it clicked in. Like they like I said, they add stuff and they'll do something, and then when you see it again, or when you're brought up to that point, you'll understand it. That's what I'm saying. It's like any kind of education. So the first year, I'll briefly go, that's your baby?
Yeah, this is Mary Margaret.
Hello, Mary Margaret.
Say hi. Say hi. It's okay. She's into me right now. That's all I can
Oh, yeah. It's like the dogs I have are, they're not my dogs, but I live with some people that they won't have anything to do. Well, the female does. She likes me. But the other one that comes only over here once in a while, if they're home, she doesn't even know me. So anyway, not the first year we were there, but the year previous to this story, Sue and I saw a glyph outside our tent, and it was like a typical one with, it had a nex, peeled sticks, but they had sketched in the sand too, and it was part of the glyph. They had put their finger in the sand and made part of the glyph was the sticks, and part of it was just an etching in the sand. Okay, You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we went away for a hike or whatever, and came back maybe an hour later, and the etching had been rubbed out, and it was just the X. So they had done something when we were gone. But this is the important thing, to remember the etching in the sand, because the next year we were there, and we were going to a place that we had went to the year before, right? So we're traveling along, and there's a particularly sandy area where it's by the river, and there's a lot of little sandy spots, a lot of river rock, but there's sandy little spots along the way, right? So all along the way, we saw, I think it was 6 or 7 sets of big SB. S and B was drawn into the sand with fingers, with big fingers.
Hey.
Yeah, SB, and you got to remember that in this place it had rained like the day before or whatever, so it was just fresh, and the whole 3 days we were there. This is way back in the mountain. We did not see another single soul. So I know what was going on. I mean, and especially I clued in because they had educated me onto them doing it, etching in the sand the year previous, right? So they did our SB in the sand. I mean, how loving is that? And it led to exactly the place that we had been the year previous, right? Mm-hmm. So, SB, and if there was no like heart or an arrow through it or anything like that, like a person would do, or SB loves, so, whatever. It was Susan and Brian SB. I mean, it was obviously them, just because of the remoteness of it, and there had not been another person around for the entire time we were there. And also, we were picking salmon berries the whole time and laughing, and she actually made me the most amazing breakfast of pancakes. She bought pancake mix and some maple syrup, and we had these wild blueberries, and we had these salmon berries that we put on it, and it was probably the best breakfast I've ever had in my life. But anyway, we're picking them, and they're watching us and they're with us the whole time. Huh. So we decided, okay, we're going to go back to the trail. So we decided, well, I mean, instead of going back the way we did, we decided we're going to bushwhack through the bush, and then the trail is 200 or 300 yards or whatever beyond that. But it was really brambly, and it was hard to maneuver through there. It wasn't an easy route to get through there. Mm-hmm. But at one point, maybe 50 yards from where we did actually hit the trail, there was like an opening. And Sue said, it looks like something is laid down here. Like something had laid down there. And actually, after the fact, shortly after that, we heard something in the bush too. But anyway, the point of this is that right in the middle of this opening, there was a single pristine berry that was placed right in the middle of it, like just one berry, not squished. It was pristine. It was nothing, and there were absolutely no berry bushes in that around it. So something had put that berry right there too, and that was just another, like, we're here, we're watching you, right? Well, like it was us, kind of, we're watching you, we're here with you. So that's the beautiful kind of loving kind of stuff they do, right?
Wow.
Yeah. I want to tell you another one, actually. I was at my gifting area. That's a beautiful story, eh?
That
just so loving.
Story. You can feel the love from just telling the story. Not only the love that you and Sue have, but the love that they have for you, and the love for all of you together. It just sounds.
Oh, they love her. They really love her.
Yeah.
They really love her. Yeah.
They've accepted her through you too.
Well, and independent of me too. I mean, I'm sure that she's got her own thing going on with them. But but I was at one of my gifting areas, and it's always just seems so super. I mean, no matter how many times these kind of things happen, they seem supernatural and amazing and just beyond beautiful. But I was feeling them and their energy and really feeling connected. And I stood up and I repeated 3 words 3 times, and I went, I, and I put my fingers to my breastbone, like I, and then love, my hand over my heart, right? I, breastbone, love, hand over my heart, you. Spread my arms out wide, right? I was saying this out loud. And I did it 3 times. At the split second, I ended the 3rd one. One really loud knock. Wood knock, like a really loud one, like that was no woodpecker, let me tell you. It was like, we heard you. We love you. We love you. We heard you.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. What did you do upon that when you heard that?
It just really touched my heart. It just really made me feel connected and blessed and so happy, right?
Wow.
Yeah. It was just amazing. But they've also, I don't know if I want to go into that. No, maybe I won't mention that one.
Okay. Are you sure?
Okay, yeah, I will. If
saying go for it, you know.
If some way, if I can say it delicately, okay?
Okay.
This was another one where they did one of those big knocks. But, you know, sometimes when you're in the bush, you know, for 2 or 3 days, you have to take care of business, right? If you know what I mean?
Yes, exactly.
So I was off on my own, taking care of business, and even before my offering, I will say, hit the ground,
yeah,
a big knock.
Oh my God! Did you just laugh?
I laughed my head off. I said, "My God, you guys are watching me, but you're hilarious." Like, you know, they were. That was funny. I mean, they got a great sense of humor. Yeah. I guess I said that okay.
That was delicately put, beautifully. Yeah.
Beautifully put. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I've actually, I've heard them talk for extended periods of time too.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that part.
I've actually heard their actual language, like them talking out loud.
What does that sound like? Can you possibly repeat it or?
Oh yeah, I'm good at it.
Oh man, I didn't know this whole time. Yes, please. Share
this was on a day that my mentor were out, and we called it Super Tuesday. It was like it was in 2012, my first year. They were doing everything that day. As soon as we went in there, we felt their energy like crazy. And we heard like whoop, some whoops and stuff. I said that the other day, right? The other time. They were whooping for us, and we felt their energy and whatever. And so and we got to the beach, and it was a super hot summer day. And as I'm bent down, splashing water on my face from the river, big rock came out and landed fairly close. It was a big splash. And Randy actually saw the guy in the bush, but once again, I didn't see him. I wasn't ready to see them at that time. Trying to think of everything that happened. And on the way back, we heard. You ever heard of the Sierra sounds, where it sounds like a scream with almost sounds like there's wind or whatever in it? It's really kind of eerie. It's like something like that, but it sounds like there's a wind or something in it too. We heard them doing that too, calling back and forth from the mountains, doing that. But when we heard them talking, we were almost all the way back, and Randy heard it first because his hearing is better than mine. And he says, "They're talking up there." So we stopped and looked up in the bush, and I'm saying, "Oh, come on and say hi to us. Come on out," because I'm always talking to them like, you know, the regular people, which to me they are. And come on out and say hello, and you know, we're ready to come out and say hi, and we're okay. You know, make friends and that kind of talk. And I think it went on for about 10 minutes. We heard two of them talking back and forth, a female. I didn't hear the female, I don't think, very well, if I even did. But I heard the male was as loud as how you're hearing me. Mm-hmm. And it sounded like just like that. And come on down and say hello and whatever. They were tossing little pebbles at us and at the trees. We heard them at the tree, right? Like not threatening, just for whatever reason, or to say we're here, whatever. Well, I didn't have to know they were here. I mean, I could hear them, but it was amazing. And I was like, it felt like I was in another dimension to get evidence or whatever anyway, but I probably would have liked to have recorded that if I could have, but I didn't even consider it. I was just like, oh my God. I couldn't believe it's like part way into their dimension and your dimension. And you know, I think it was about a week later, I thought, why didn't I record that? You know, it didn't even occur to me. It was so amazing.
Yeah, when you were talking that, just for that brief time, all the energy went way up and out, and so on this recording, you're delayed a little bit, and it goes in and out and all over, and now it's back.
What do you mean my energy went all over?
When you were speaking in the Sasquatch language.
Oh, really?
Yes. When you see this after, when our listeners hear it, they can hear it again, and yeah, that's interesting.
Oh, wow. Wow. That is interesting. And we call that one Super Tuesday. Yeah. Actually, I am writing a book.
Yeah, we talked about that before the show.
But my own personal choice is that I don't, I work and whatever, and I've got a pension. I don't need the money. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to be selling the book. I'm just going to put it online for free. Mm-hmm. But I may make, for special friends or whatever, I would like to maybe make, a certain amount of actual physical books, mm-hmm. right? To, because it would just be nice to hang on to and whatever. And that is something I want to do. Maybe a dozen or so I will do. Mm-hmm. But I also wrote a book, co-wrote a book with Thom Cantrall, talking mostly about glyphs or whatever, right?
Right.
And once again,
I haven't seen that book, though. I've only seen the videos of it.
Well, I'm going to tell people how to get a hold of it if they want. Now, once again, I'm not making any money off of it because Tom's on a fixed income, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not judging anybody for it. It's just that I don't want to do it. I want to give it away for free, but Tom's on a fixed income. He could, so
use it.
Yeah, he can use it.
Yeah.
That's how it works, right? Yeah. So anyway, the book that him and I co-wrote is called, it's called Woodworks. I'm sorry.
Woodworks. Mm-hmm.
WoodsWorks, I think. Sasquatch Speaks. And you can find it on his website, Ghosts of Ruby Ridge. So, and what I have, he talks about them from his perspective, and I put a lot of my stories of experiences in there and whatever, and stuff in there. So if anybody's interested in that, once again, I'm not making anything off it. But
and can they get that on Amazon? Do you know?
I believe so. Okay. I think they can. Yeah, he's got it pretty well organized. Okay. He's an author. He's written quite a few books, so that's just one of the ones that's available. Yeah. Great.
And what is his name again? Can you?
Thom Cantrall.
And how does he spell that?
Thom is actually with an H, Thom. Cantrall is Cantrall.
Okay, Thom Cantrall.
And he's had 50 years experience with him. You might even want to talk to him one day.
Yeah, just might. I mean, hey, who knows, right? I don't know where this is going. No one really knows, but communication and connection is what's up, and so that we can take our next step, right, as a species, as humanity.
Right.
Yeah. And we have some elders here helping us all along the way. So what are some of their experiences they've given you as far as that they are here to help humanity? Have you had some hearts with that? Like, hey, we really need some help. What do you think?
Well, like I said, when I had that epiphany, when they gave me that all one, all connected, and I knew, about I was an eternal being. There's no such thing as death, and I felt it as well as it was a feeling as well as information to download. Right.
There was an
what's that?
An experience.
Yeah. So if that's where you're going, I mean, that's what they want me to do. Is they want me to talk to people so that plant some seeds, like Johnny Appleseed, throw a few seeds around, and maybe a few of them will. Will sprout, like with that young fellow that I'm talking to, and with maybe somebody on here will, actually there was a guy that I've been talking to in a Facebook group, and I suggested to him, he's just getting into it or whatever, he's had some experiences, and I suggested, why don't you make your own glyph and see what they do? Because that's a good way to start the connection with them, right?
That makes sense.
Yeah, so little do I know, like a couple of days later, he's online on the group, all excited. He said they made my glyph. They made his glyph. They did it. They made one themselves and left it for him. So, you know, that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah. Well, after I talked with you after our last show, I'm looking for glyphs everywhere in parking lots. Okay, just I swear I am. I haven't gotten one yet, but I am, and it's an awareness. So by you speaking, it expands our awareness that is a reality.
I'm sure that sounds ridiculous to some people, like in parking lots, but it's not. I've had them show up in parking lots 2 or 3 times at least. I've had them show up at my townhouse, right in front of my townhouse. Yeah, I mean, when my mother died, they came and right in the street in a regular town, they left some glyphs, you know, to show their support. I mean, yeah, they can come and put them anywhere.
See, and so that's if I had not have talked to you in the beginning, I would not know that. I think a lot of our listeners, that's maybe new information for them, because they always see Sasquatch in the woods, you know, away from us. And you know, what would it be like if the bond where they no longer avoided us? What do you think that would be like? Have you thought about that at all, or is that going to happen anytime soon, or we have a lot to learn, or, you know, maybe?
Well, I mean, they are coming out. Like I said, they went away for a long time when the white man came to North America, because they didn't like the energy and negativity and whatever. But now that people are waking up, they're coming back. So, I mean, they're spiritual teachers. And they're working in conjunction with some star nations or whatever. So their whole thing is to raise our vibration. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be beautiful if we get it. That's what I'm trying to do, to get that message out, right?
Right, and it's been progressing. It hasn't stopped. It's progressing with you. It has a nice progression so far.
Well, no, I don't really have any choice anymore. I'm motivated, you know, like it's right inside of me now doing that. So
it's your life, right? It's your destiny, shall we say, in a lot of
I guess so. But you know, as far as, you know, people find that hard to believe, as far as the glyphs showing up at your house or whatever. I mean, go on my Facebook page or whatever. If you see an XA glyph, which is friendship welcome from the clan of Arrrie, is my meaning for it. And like I said, they customize them. They're so obvious that the chance that they fell like that randomly is 0. Okay. And, you know, when you see thousands and thousands of them in British Columbia and Oregon and Washington, like I have, it's just a no-brainer. But when you see an intricate one that is just absolutely beautiful right in your townhouse, like the asphalt, and it's an XA, and it's like there's not another stick in the entire area except for those, and they just stand out like a bright and peeled and whatever. It's just like, wow, you know, there's just no other explanation for it. You just know, right?
And can you talk a little bit about before we had break about Sasquatch being a global movement too, where you're friend from Australia, and you're probably connecting with friends now from all over the world that the Sasquatch do live in a remote area, and we're getting larger and we're encroaching on their homeland, shall we say?
Well, I mean, they're all over the world. I mean, all over North America. I mean, I think when people first started thinking about them, when the Patterson film and whatever came out, they thought, well, maybe they're just in Western, you know, in the Western North America, whatever, like Oregon and California and British Columbia and whatever. But I mean, Arla Colette Williams is in Oklahoma. They're there. I mean, they're in Georgia. They're the Yeti, you know, in Russia and whatever. The Yowie in Australia. They're all over the world. They're really literally all over the world.
So maybe some connection that way, right? And that's why, like, the August 31st through September 2nd, the Psychic Sasquatch Spiritual Retreat. It's a global retreat from what I understand. Everybody from all over will be telling their stories.
Well, there'll be people from all over. I mean, I know my Australian friend that I told you he told me about my sister and whatever, and my parents. He's going to be there, and people come from back east and from Canada, and it's amazing because a lot of the people that go there, when you meet them, you feel like a family. You feel like you're connected to them.
Yeah.
Like there's just a different feeling. Like there really is a connection between their people.
Yeah,
you feel the connection.
I haven't been to one, but I can feel it from here. And my word for it would be it's real. Like you
exactly when you meet somebody that they've connected you to or whatever, or you just feel that long history of connection. Yeah, it's a really beautiful thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just all so real. Yeah, exactly.
And so, is there anyone else in your family that's connected with Sasquatch, or are you the only one?
In like my daughters and.
Yeah, in your intimate family.
No, they all think I'm nuts. Like most people do, right?
Right. I know when
I mean,
it's like coming out in a way, you know.
Because they don't even consider it really. I mean, and that's fine. I'm not really. I don't really, you know, when I first got into it, I was, but you know, like trying to convince them, and now I don't really care. And it's not like I don't care, or it's just I don't really care if they believe it or not. It's not that important to me. But I mean, even the guys that think there might be an ape or whatever running around in the woods, or are just into casting tracks and stride length, and are not into the spiritual, the heart connection to them. I mean, they don't even consider, I mean, they would consider me to be a woo-woo camp or whatever. So even people, most people that are into Sasquatch or whatever too, you know, wouldn't agree with what I'm saying too. So it's, yeah.
Yeah, well, you are expressing your view of your life experience here, and I feel it's important. When I first saw you on Mike Harrell's YouTube, I just stopped everything I was doing. And I wrote my little note. Got to get you on here and tell your story. It's important.
Hey, you said the name right this time.
Well, you taught.
Remember, it was Harrell.
Yes.
And even after I corrected you, and the first time we talked, you said Harrell afterwards.
Yes, yeah, I did.
So I really noticed when you said Harrell this time.
Yeah.
Now he's going to message me and say, it is Harrell.
Oh, yeah.
Because he never really told me, but I'm just thinking it's Harrell. Maybe it is Harrell.
That would be awesome.
Well, yeah, you'd be right then.
Oh, whatever. We've had a lot of fun with it. That's more important, right?
Absolutely.
I love that part with you where you're saying that to have fun with them, it's a part of their teasing and playing with you to kind of lighten up. And because on the planet with a lot of things that are happening, it gets so, so deep and dark and, all of those things.
Well, I mean, the juveniles, the little ones, they're people. I mean, they want to have fun. They want to play with you. I mean, they like to play little tricks, and they like to sit or wherever they're watching from and giggle and laugh. I mean, I felt their amusement and their glee and stuff, right? Like little Bud, I mean, he's just a little pill, little stinker,
And you get to watch him grow up with him. That's pretty amazing.
Well, I think he's going to be a powerful guy, and when he does grow up, I'll probably have some kind of path with him moving forward. I think he's going to be a big part of my journey moving forward.
I see that, and with him.
Yeah.
Too, that's interesting. So
I feel him too. He's just, I can feel his energy right now. It's just like, he's a loving little guy. He is a loving little character.
And smart.
He's a good teacher. He taught me that lesson with the hockey card, like I told you. You're paying way too much attention to that, so I'm going to take this card off you and smarten you up.
That was a great story. So people have to listen into part one here, because that was a wonderful story. So we have a few minutes. Would you like to leave any last part of a story or a message or anything you'd like to tell our listeners today?
Well, how much time do we have?
We have about 5 minutes.
Okay, well, I can tell you, I'd like to talk about zapping a little bit.
All right, let's do that.
They, you remember the Wizard of Oz where Dorothy and they were walking through towards the wizard's palace, and they're all like walking like almost like there's a force field or something there, and like their footsteps are heavy and whatever, and they can do that to you. That's happened so many times to Randy and I, where they've kind of zapped us and we're like, it's almost like disorienting.
Why do you think they do that? Just to let them, their presence, or do you need to slow down, or are they getting a healing, or?
I've heard some people say that it could be that we're maybe too close to little ones or something, or.
Oh, a protective.
Or it could, maybe it could be a protection thing. It could be for a number of different reasons. I don't have all the answers. I just know that they do that amazing stuff, right?
Yeah, and you're a part of them.
Yeah.
They're a part of you.
Absolutely.
And
so as far as what a message or whatever, like the whole message is like there is a concerted effort between benevolent Star Nations people and the Sasquatch or any being with an elevated consciousness to bring us on board, so that us children that they consider us on Earth, little kids, little babies, little infants, as far as the universal scope of things can be brought up to speed, because we're actually pretty wonderful beings, human beings.
We are.
We've got a ways to go.
We do, or to remember, even to remember who we are.
Yeah.
That has been stifled as well. Well.
Wait a minute. Your little stone story.
Okay. Yeah. This is how we kind of started talking. I have a happy rock. He's right here. I'll show the people who can see it. There's I just love him. And I was walking down a creek bed in Sedona, and in the middle of the creek bed of thousands of stones, I heard in my head, "Pick me up, pick me up, pick me up." And I look down and I pick up this rock. And he says, "Take me home, take me home." And I said, "No, you need to stay here with your family, with all your other rock friends. You get really lonely without them." And so I put him back down out of respect. And I put him back down in the river rocks. So I'm going on an all-day hike. I'm coming back. It's been miles back down the river bed. And it's getting dark. And I hear again, "Pick me up, pick me up." And I look out and I pick him up again. And I took him home with me. And he's been with me for 20 years now. And so I know that you work with the stone people and with the rock people, and he's worked with me and healed and helped a lot of people all these years.
Yeah, they've gifted me with a lot of rocks. So I can associate with that, with rocks. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
That's how we connected, I think, our rock stories. So all the people out there, we wish you rock stories to give to Brian and to the Cosmic Oracle Show.
Yeah, and if they want to hear, they should listen to the first episode, because that amazing rock story that I had talks all about connection and whatever, and it's
and they can get that on the archives here at Revolution Radio. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you next week. Thank you, Brian. Give my love to Sue and to the family.
Absolutely.
Take care. See everyone next week. Bye-bye for now. Okay, I think that was it. Thank you. That was beautiful at this one. This one was really good. We're getting good at it, huh?
No, this one was better than the first, I think.
Well, yeah, we're starting to have our connection and flow and trust and ease. So Let me take us off of recording.